This is the Take Your Turn 2022 tournament hosted by Groove of War. Groove of War hosts Wargroove commentary and analysis. A link to their channel in the description. Take Your Turn is composed of 3 events, Wargroove, Chess, and Go, and on this channel we are looking at Go. My name is Arn Foster. This commentary is aimed at newer players, players in the double-digit Q ranks. If you do spot any mistakes, things we missed, definitely let us know in the comments. Today we're going to be looking at round 5, game 1 between Atreides playing black and Just Your Eventual Ruler playing white. And fantastically or luckily, I have with me Ruler to talk about the game. Hey, Ruler.
Hi. It's quite convenient that I play this match.
Yes, it is.
It's almost like I know. It's almost like I know exactly how it goes.
And I think you may have some rather unique insight into what White was thinking. Something tells me.
Yeah, and it's good. Like after the first move right here, this is probably the ruler opening, the ruler special so far.
Whew. I said this in the recap, but your openings are sometimes, like in this game, your openings are memorable.
Yes.
I think I said bad manners, but memorable would be another way.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Then Black plays a pretty logical move, and then I go super all in on this.
Mm-hmm.
Super all in. They were confused. I don't know if you're showing comments, but if you don't, but basically they were confused.
Comments are hidden, but I am also confused, as I think are most people.
Okay, so I'm playing white.
Yes.
Against Sanrense. With Komi though, with Komi. I do have Komi. I like playing white as handicap just because I get Komi. So this is a 3-stone handicap game with we would just call it placement,
right,
rather than it being anything else. And then I play a start point. So what are your thoughts on the opening?
You're a madman. So on the one hand, culturally, boy, is that some BM. It is.
Hey, no. I played on the correct star point.
Okay. You could have been worse. But giving somebody a 3-stone handicap, I'm assuming you didn't talk it up beforehand, is very ballsy. It absolutely says I have a lot of confidence, or I'm going to look extremely foolish. So I think more seriously though. So you right, like you said, you've got essentially a 3-stone handicap that's been placed. You have got to be, in my mind, you've got to be unbelievably aggressive. So in my mind, in order to make up for this big difference, you're obviously doing this because you feel like you have you've got the advantage in experience and in reading. So in my mind, that means you need to be taking a bunch of risks but you feel like you could do that, is my guess.
I can get away with overplay because I feel like this opponent is not quite as strong as me.
Right.
That's what I'm saying with this. Because if you don't overplay as white when you're in a handicap game, the issue becomes you don't get enough points.
Right. You can't keep pace. Yeah.
So you got to realize with at least this sort of placement, black has a lot less weaknesses, but it's notable to point that I'm just going to mark it with X's here. These are weak points. There's a bunch of different probes and things around here. There's a submarine invasion right here. Same. And so there's all these weak points that black will have to try and figure out how to solve, not including how to build outwards. But if I can find a way to take a massive area and then just make the rest of the board dame, that's a success for me, especially since I have Komi. I don't have to build nearly as much points.
Right.
So because of that, I'm looking to look at these spots and find the right timing for each one of them. So that's after the board maybe settles a little bit, it will be a question of where do I play at what time.
Right.
So black plays Tengen. Spicy not playing the corner. If they play the corner, I would have had a much harder time playing this game.
I think I say we, but in particular, you've talked a lot about in previous game analyses that playing Tengen so early is a little unusual. I am surprised to see Atreides go for it when they've really only got one side that they're situated on. They
Well,
obviously go ahead. Yeah.
it's actually not that bad here because there's Mii between the top and the bottom star point, right? Technically, yeah, I think the corner is just better because it's more efficient to develop, and then you do have a primary stone to start attacking the center. But this playing Tengen right now isn't actually a bad option because if I ever take one of the star points, they're going to take the other one, just naturally. How it works.
That makes sense. And by having Tengen already, you can come out a little bit ahead. Okay.
It's Mii. Whereas if they committed to one of the star points, the game becomes like, oh, I get the sides, which probably actually better for Black. It's easier to hold that, but I don't know.
No, but I think it's a good point. It's a completely valid option to look to play Tengen. Okay.
So I think most people would agree that taking the corner is just bigger, just because of how corners work.
Right.
So I take the corner instead because
Naturally.
I need some sort of base. I'm trying to make quick points right now. And this is a weird move right off the bat. And the reason this is a weird move is spacing. Not just... There's multiple things. First, it's not quite close enough to my my cornerstone to warrant any sort of response. It doesn't really make any response stronger. And then you have this whole back area with really awkward spacing.
Right, now it feels a little too wide, a little more vulnerable.
Generally speaking, you have two options here. If you wanted to guarantee that you got this got a big area, right, and would prepare something strong, you generally play the star point here, right? And let's say I do this. Now this approach is really strong because I'm building a huge area on the ooh crap. That was funny.
Oh no, I missed it. I'm not sure it showed up on.
No. It was I reloaded the page by accident. Computer is weird. It's fine. Your Black is threatening to make a very large area down here. Right here.
And
really quickly.
The spacing between the K4 stone at one, the star point, and then at D4 at the other star point suddenly feel like they're a little closer, so they feel a little bit better. Not that there aren't vulnerabilities, but they feel like they better support one another. And as you're making the really nice point, the by playing at K4 first is one option, you can then be way more aggressive with a follow-up at O3, and it puts a lot more pressure on you. That makes sense. And it instead though the result feels like it is in that weird, or the move that was played feels like it's in this weird limbo state.
You might want as Black here, it might be a bit risky, but you could consider approaching here. Technically, you'd probably want to overplay here and just immediately pincer. I think that's bad right now. White really needs to enclose so they don't get just bullied and attacked. Right. But Black can consider playing this, which prevents them getting pincered, but it does lead to awkward spacing. However, this point anyways was really invasible, and this point was really invasible, so I don't really think it matters too much. Like something's going to happen here anyways.
Right.
Whenever you play this kind of structure as Black, like when this stone is high, at 3, you're really saying that you want this area going this way, and you don't really care about the bottom right now. If you wanted to care more about the bottom, you'd play slightly lower.
Right.
And this makes it you get the lower, like the sides, but you don't really claim the top nearly as much. But I think either way, approaching here is probably the stronger option, since it forces a response out of me.
So it seems like it was the right intention by Atreides, but because of where they ended up playing, it didn't really achieve, at least initially here, with the initial play at M4, it doesn't really achieve the
desired effect.
The desired effect, the stronger structure that they're building towards, or the pressure that they're putting on with you.
Yeah, it's just kind of too slack on both ends. It's not solid enough, nor is it pressuring me enough. So it's not a particularly good option. But this does mean it's perfect timing for me to come in and invade. Black should probably just like immediately pincer and kick. Or kick. I feel like if I was a called, if black kicks, I might just flat out do some leaning, right? See what I can get over here, for example, and then if they decide to capture, then commit. You need to, in this position, the singular stone isn't the thing that's important. It's that I'm trying to pressure black in some way, right?
Right.
So I think the best option is probably to immediately pincer. That actually alleviates the spacing issue too, that black has. It does mean that I'll probably get to live in the corner somehow, but black will get a bunch of influence and actually has a somewhat decent spacing now. So they fixed both of the problems they have with this move.
Right.
That being said, I can double approach, and then it's just annoying.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a symptom of playing such a big area, right? So I think some form of preparing a pincer or pincering is good. Also, playing here is a valid option. Just try and take the side as much as you can, and say that you'll have more points than white by the end of it, because you'll be able to attack white if they don't do anything. Like if I don't settle right now, so let's say I enclose, right? Black will be much more incentivized to kick because they'll be building profit. So if I try to commit to staying on the stone, you'd play right here, and then this looks a daunting task for white to live in here and get out. Right. So
the base is destabilized on both sides, and
yeah,
you're sort of running up against a crunch. Yeah.
So they do this, which is a normal move, but I don't really think it's the right Joseki choice for this. As I mentioned, this kind of makes you have a floating group if I manage to double approach somehow, which I'll have enough spacing to double approach if I really wanted to. It's kind of just strengthening my position, right? It's kind of falling into what I want to do, because I'll be able to lean easier, lean on more things much easier now after the exchanges that come.
Right.
But normal Joseki starts with white Hane pretty much always. And then, okay, I'll show you their move first. This is not Joseki. This is actually really bad because it leaves a very, very vital cutting point that white can abuse later on. Pretty extremely, actually. It's much more important for white or black instead to either strengthen their stones or make other threats. So like in this variation, this is common Joseki, where white will push here, and this is bad shape. For those who don't know, this is bad shape, and then white also gets to continue carving out. So you block here first, and then if white ever decides to push, you do have a cutting point, but this is better shape because this is a full triangle, and this is a pretty strong set of stones. So not an issue for black, really, I would say. But you have your normal fighting variation, which you want to overplay, right? So you might consider this. Or the peaceful variation, any sort of extension that protects the cut. Pretty much settles on the spot. And another option for black is to do this, and this leaves black with bad shape because white will Hane on top, but it does leave white with pretty significant weaknesses that white has to deal with, and white usually chooses to fix one of them somehow. In this case, I'd probably choose this variation because I do kind of want to settle, because if I can settle this group somehow, that's not good for black because this stone's awkwardly spaced. It's gonna have a hard time running away. So black goes here, and then I cross cut immediately, and then fix. Do you have any thoughts on this?
So I think I was wondering why. I guess you are you fixing because you want to be able to settle? Like I'm wondering, for example, why black that with a or a sorry an H5 follow up by black does that is it just that you if you when you settle with G3 that you still feel like you've got enough space to run on the third line either way, even if black tries to push you down? It just I what I'm curious about, maybe another way to ask, is the difference between, say, the G3 play that you did and an H5 play continuing to try to push outward more and toward the center. Be faster.
It's because I don't want to go to the center. That's not where I'm trying to play right now. So my game plan right now is that I basically have this really loose pincer stone and this group, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if black is ever able to cut me to shreds, like right this is oh wait, it's let's say black plays right here, right?
Right.
Takes this and then takes this. This is bad because I can no longer attack the group, right? This is probably not a good variation for black because there's a bunch of cutting points.
Sure.
And it just leads to immediate like big probably.
Right.
Not good for black, not in black's territory. But let's just say we go to the normal route, right? And I take this first. Black has the option to undercut this. And I go here, but then we kind of go into, well, black is starting to get a little bit of support. Heck, maybe black might just extend here if they don't want to fight a co. It's probably the better option. And it's kind of really hard to separate these stones at this point. We don't really have a great stone to do that. I'm going to have to worry about making this group live, and then black will profit on this side, likely.
Right.
While gaining influence on this side. So that's not really what I want to do. It feels too surrounded, basically.
That makes
black will gain
sense.
Too much.
I think when I saw that initially, I assumed or read out, sort of looked at as black doing a simple extension at G6 first, allowing you to fall back and secure. But it makes perfect sense that I should have been also looking at the variation where black is willing to sacrifice the G5 stone to try to destabilize you and see what that looks like. When you play it out like that, it suddenly looks a lot worse for white. So when considering that possibility,
you have to pick the better one.
Yeah.
Play solid, and then if let's say black encloses, right? Oh goodness, this looks scary for black. This looks really scary for black. It may be just this direct pincer, or even an enclosure here would be basically Sente.
Yeah.
So because of that, you don't want to. This is bad. This is also another reason why this particular spacing is very bad. It's that it guarantees me a good enclosure that doesn't have any like major caveats. Because they can't directly invade the 3-3 point anymore, which is really good for me. Like really good. Especially because that guarantees me a base. Even if you try to do a submarine invasion, I just close here, and then my group's basically alive. Your group is still floating. My group on the left is stronger than your singular stone, so you're going to probably have to jump. And you're still undercut, so you got to connect Tengen, at which point I can start a fight. Then probably want to do this way. And then I think you can get connected, but it's a fight, all right.
Yeah, it becomes a dicey fight.
It might even be worth considering. If they try to extend, then you extend your weaker stone, and then this ladder works for me, as we can read it out. It works. So you can't ladder the stone.
Right.
So netting it is probably better. However, I can maybe lean here. And now you're cut, right? So options, and then whenever I'd probably actually, since this is a Q game, right, and I'm playing a worse opponent, this is overplay, because it's not actually Sente. But black would probably be incentivized to respond, and then, maybe I lean on something first. So maybe, this I think breaks the ladder. Let's check. So it's Blackstones. Yeah, that breaks the ladder. So, that would be a good form of leaning. It does force a response out of black, and then you just try and keep fighting for the ladder for a little while.
Right.
And then just gain. The idea is that you're fighting this. You don't really care. You're acting like this is black, but then you're going to build strength here and attack this large group on a larger scale. However, black should probably just like to figure out a way to just ignore this. So this, right? Then you start poking, right? And then you start the fight. Then maybe that'd be the game plan. You're very loose here as white, right? You're gonna get shredded, but you really do need to bank it on a kill, you know?
Right. And black's job is to really keep the advantage that they start with, and to not let themselves be torn apart and get spread too thin.
This is a mistake on black. I think the idea is to this is a good move because I strengthen this area. But the issue is that you don't, because these cuts right here, this
so
clamp,
strong.
they're just too strong for white. I think the cut is basically Sente for white, because you don't want white running amok and having basically an extra eye on the bottom, you know?
No,
or potential for at least an eye. So I immediately take the cut. They extend. The stone is not actually dead yet. There's a lot of Aji, especially if I play on the vital point right here. If I ever get to play that, then black might be in some trouble if their group on the outside doesn't have eyes. Right. So I take the free kill. Ooh, I played down a variation. They ladder this. They continue, and I think at this point they realize, this is a ladder, right?
Oof.
Don't need to commit anymore.
Right.
So they take this Atari, and then I take. So
you come out real nicely there.
Yeah. Now the real issue is that black is cut right here, so black doesn't get out this way, or actually technically right here too as well. For example, if black plays this, white plays it here. And then this is like really bad shape, and I'm threatening to cut here, which would be not good. So you're weakening this group and this group.
In that sort of situation, would you still go for that? Would you go for this even though black can H4 it and take the 2 stones because you would get the trade, or would you?
Oh wait, I missed that. I'm in Atari. Yeah. I did miss this.
But it still leaves you. I mean, you're still left. Even if you do have to pull back,
if you're going to do that, you do this.
Yeah,
if you're going to set, you do this instead. But this doesn't even work. It's not even Sente, right? Black would fix, and then now the stone doesn't really have nearly as much potential.
Right.
I guess you could do this. This is probably a good exchange.
And really try to isolate that M4 stone at the exchange of. It does.
Just try to be super severe, right?
Right.
And take a huge area. But I think something similar actually happens in the game. I don't remember exactly, but no, because this happens. So I think they take a stone. Yeah. So they do this,
right,
and then I take the outside, which is probably a better variation for me.
Yeah.
They take, and then what do I do? Okay, yes. This is also surrounding on a large scale. This threatens to make profit if I run out. I don't know why I didn't consider it, but the enclosure right here. I guess I thought I needed to play bigger, but in a normal situation, this would be how you'd start the running, right, because now you're safe on the bottom, and then you can build on the side. But I guess I felt like I needed to play bigger, right? So I played that, which I don't know if my opponent actually knows how to do any of the invasions on the side from here. So that's good news for me. They take this peep.
Interesting.
I'm not entirely sure about this, but it is a free move. It does it does allow them to do something like this, right?
Right.
But I also start to run out with them, and then they can't wedge because if they try to like wedge, I take, right. So if they connect this, you have a choice between either connecting and letting me go through, or cutting me off, but creating severe cutting points while also killing two stones in the process, right? So wedging here is no good.
I think I wondered too about the peep. Also feels like it. I mean, it adds a little. It does add a little bit of stability. I wonder if it wouldn't have been better to play play elsewhere first. I don't know how. So within the local space, do you feel like the peep was sufficiently important in bringing strength to that stone, or would you have just been looking to
I would have
jump
just
out?
jumped. Yeah, I would have just jumped because this, especially with this follow up, this is not the right shape point. I think I immediately exploited by like pushing through everywhere, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
you push through. There's this massive cut. This is bad, like very bad for black. This is not a result because not a result you should even consider playing if you can if you've read this out, because white is going to get a Sente push here at some point if black doesn't fix, and you're juggling several weak groups at once. Because I can start a fight in the center at any time, right? A fight, it is an advantage for black, but if I just have enough strength around, the advantage doesn't really mean that much,
Right.
because I could have extra liberty somewhere else and just connect for free.
Right, and
Right?
with that cut at M6, you're also further. White is further threatening to isolate or continue the isolation of that M4 M5 group of three blackstones there. So
Yeah,
you're
this
not.
group.
It's not that group isn't really being protected because
Yeah,
of the way the cut works.
yeah, and it's also, this is a massive side. If I get this, like that's good for me because remember, black still has all of those invasion points. There's a bunch of invasion points for black right now still that they have to play around to get,
Yeah.
right. And it's like I'm pretty sure you could reasonably live down here if I really wanted to. I could live. Um, it's just that tenuous for black, right? So you can't give up the stones like this while still having all of these issues. That's the
Yep.
problem. Um, and then black Ataris, but I extend. Then they take this Atari, which it's too slow.
Right. It does its job, but you've just elaborated on all the other places we should be focused on the board, or at least some of them. So to take care of this cut with a move this direct feels like it's doing its thing, but it's only one thing, and that thing is pretty small in the grand scheme of things.
It's also important that since they chose the direction of the ladder, leaning on this stone is now a viable option too,
Mm-hmm.
which is really annoying for black. So I think in general, if you black wanted to play this like something, black would probably play this or even this to protect the corner while basically killing the Aji. But this is slow and happens to also be bad shape. You have the empty triangle that's never going to do anything except maybe protect the cut. But even then,
Right.
white would be happy to keep this till end game and just play elsewhere, right? Um, so it's bigger to find some way to lean on something or some way to kill this group. So like leaning on this is big. Um, um, Maybe threaten to come down into the corner. And then this is now potentially really not good for white. But white, I think white gets out like this, right? So it's going to be a life and death problem. And back, black has Sinte, right? But if black does this, this seems annoying.
Just try and destabilize the entire.
Yeah, black can't Tanuki this. So black has 1 eye, maybe 2. But it's going to be a shortage of liberties eventually, right? Maybe white plays here first. Yeah, and that's 1 eye, and then maybe not an eye later, right? I think this is 2 eyes. Like black is living, but I think white got too much out of the process because now white is 100% settled here. White has a bunch of cutting points right over in this area. This is basically all points for white now, right? So black did get an invasion, but it's not with how they played this. It shouldn't have been an invasion, right? That's not what they were trying to do with the stone, you know. So this feels like a bad result for black.
Forced into an invasion and an unfavorable one at that.
Yeah. What did we? Okay, this is entirely in the future. So I play this. Do you think this works? There's actually a very easy way to tell if this works, by the way.
Okay, so I want to know the trick in a second, but it seems like it should. It seems like it should because either you're able to connect back to on the right hand side towards the existing group with D3 or D2 or even E2, or if they try to cut you off, you can still push along the C line, and you're 3 lines over, so you've got sufficient space that you should be able to. It feels like you should be able to make sufficient shape there. That they if they try to undercut you, they won't be able to do it quick enough that you can get out because black has influence, but not quite enough, I think, on that left side to really immediately tamp you down. And if they try to contain you, then you've got enough space underneath to live.
So the general rule of thumb is that as white, if black only has the 3/3, right, and doesn't have any of the probing moves or invasion moves around it, it's probably that move too. Just I don't know why black would ever play any of these moves in the corner this early on. So I think they're not worth considering. But any of these like probe or like enclosures or invasions that if invasion spot black plays, if black happens to play any of those, right, then it does then you have to at least read it out to see if it works. Whereas if it's just like the 3/3, this it should lead to the same result as if black had a pincered stone and white immediately invaded. This is similar, and that ends up playing a similar Joseki. Black takes this, and then I take this, which is weird, but black chose a direction in a kind of weird way, you know. In fact, the thing is, black really probably shouldn't let me go this way. They should probably just do this because this is significantly better shape. Plus, they have the wedge here, which is annoying,
right?
Especially since you can get this move, and this is huge later on. Because if you guys don't know, if there's ever a shortage of liberties here, for example, this is not fun.
No.
I think white will still live, but that's like pretty significant reduction later on if black gets to play that. So there might even be some sort of, let's say, I did that, right? White has the choice of taking this, but this is because this is not solid. This might be worth more because I'm pretty sure, you kill those stones, right?
Right.
So white kills this, and then you kill this in return. That's huge, right? So, end game potential there.
I think the other thing too is we've talked a little bit too about sort of direction of play or the flow of how things are, and that with a play at C4 like that, you're looking to protect the both
Territory,
the left hand side and more of that center. It's making it harder for white to then breach into the area that you are really trying to bolster up, whereas instead cutting white off, I mean, I guess it e3 can work if white, if you are somehow confident that you could actually kill white. If you aren't confident or certain that you could kill white, then you are encouraging white to take more territory and start to really press up into an area that you haven't fully reinforced. So
it doesn't really, it doesn't really do anything for black, because this, and then if I, again, leaning, if I, oh, well, black has Sente, right? So black would probably do something like this, and now the corner is alive. Double Hane is probably the correct choice here. It's spicy.
It's very spicy.
Either way, basically, I think we can both agree this is probably the wrong direction to play.
Yeah.
Black blocks. I do this, and then I do this move because the double Hane.
Mm-hmm.
Black connects, and then what variation do you think I'd take here? There's two variations you can do here, and hopefully you know them. If you don't, learn your Joseki. This is a pretty important Joseki.
Oh, I'm being called out. Yes. I don't know my Joseki. Okay, so...
There's two... Okay, so I'll give you a hint. There's one way to live in the corner, and then one way to not live. So can you guess the either the move I played or the Joseki move?
So I guess the two moves I'm currently looking at, I don't know if I'm actually correct in either of these. I think that I don't think this is what you would do, but the one that stands out is the B7, to put the B6 into Atari, threatening to use the extra space on like B9 to sort of get yourself some more leverage and room. I think you would instead be looking at C2. I believe C2 does two things for you. C2 is going to give you it's going to secure, I believe it should secure the corner, but C2 also threatens to connect with an E2 play, prompting a response for black if they don't want you to link everything up, and then still leaving you the ability to Sente. And so I think I would be looking at C2 as my guess for what you would do. So
I like the idea, but that's not the move I played. However, you did guess the correct Joseki.
Oh, I got lucky.
Okay. This is Joseki.
Okay.
White will get a Panuki on the outside, and the variation goes. I think I played out the normal standard variation. Yeah, black will cut here, and then this is a big sacrifice of 2 stones. Those 2 stones are dead.
Yeah.
Or at least I'm pretty sure they're dead. In the game, I'm like, I don't even want to deal with this. I'm not even going to read it out. I'm just, screw that, you know? But yeah, there's these variations. However, white should probably, instead of playing B9, the submarine invasion's really strong
just
here.
go really, okay.
Yeah.
Do a two space jump and a submarine invasion.
So, because this is just helping white, right? Even if you play this, then white's getting out, right? So basically black's not going to have an easy time stopping this, and then black's going to create a cutting point. So this is a very strong invasion at this point. You're basically doing 2 invasions at once with extra support, right? And that's really good for white. So this is a playable result, but I just didn't feel like it.
Okay.
Right? I wanted to play solidly because I wanted to just fight everything and then live in every nook and cranny, right?
Right.
I don't want to play like Cho Chikun this early. But I think the more standard move here is, let's see, right here, the hanging connection.
Okay. The hanging interesting.
Because this is what you'd play if you were going for Ko, normally. But at least in this situation, I figured pretty much every Sente move isn't going to be big enough because black is probably going to have to play in Gote later. And this also leaves better endgame for me, potentially. Like, I don't really... This is a lot now. This is just... Like, black can't do anything else. And if black leaves, well, I mean... black... Like this, right? This is still an issue for black, etc., right?
I see.
This is a better...
Yeah.
So black should probably first not even think about this, and then first do this. This is how black should deal with the Aji. But you can see it might get a little dicey later if I get some free moves somehow with the Aji, right?
Yeah.
But in theory, the black stones are safe, even though this is horrendous shape. Ugh. You have an empty triangle with a dumpling.
It makes me sad, but no, right?
I can Tanuki this though, right? Yeah. I can Tanuki, and that's the important thing. I come out with Sente. However, I would also... I think I did a few variations of this just to prove that I cannot save the two groups. So variation... Okay, that's not... There you go. So first, this looks the most promising. This game's being significantly more liberties. However, I'm pretty sure this kills. White can't connect because this wedge. This is a cool wedge. White plays here. There's actually a throw-in here, a funny throw-in, for the same reason. White would really like to capture here, but it's a snapback, right?
Right.
So white will instead have to capture here, and then it's pretty grim. I think this is bad because this is basically Seki, I think. No, it's dead.
Yeah.
But locally, this is Seki. Like, locally, hyper-locally. White can't play there. White would have to prepare a move. But, like, I'm crackpotting right here, but look.
No, right,
I can't... Neither of us... We can neither internally play liberties. That's the big important thing. We have to do outside moves to affect this.
Right.
So yeah, that's dead in this variation. But black doesn't need to give up the extra point, right? So black would play this, and then you connect, and then black connects, and then it's connect and die. If you guys don't know, if these two stones and the group that they're in is entirely surrounded, then they're dead. Because the Hane up here forces a kill. If the cut isn't protected, I should say. Right. So, like, if you had a stone right here, then this is fine. But if you don't have a cut protector, this kills it because white can't extend because it'll be self-Atari. Very unfortunate. So I can't save the group. That's the thing. If white tries to be sneaky and does this, similar issue. Black can play here. And it's a capturing race, and white happens to lose because they have to connect at one point. So if you really wanted to save these stones, there's actually a slightly better variation where white plays here and then white plays this. Black will try to do this and then we'll block. This doesn't work, by the way. You can't connect here because it take. It's important to note. So white will do this, and this is actually a ko, as you'll see. Yeah, it's a ko. This is a potentially good ko for me because it's just really annoying, especially if I get this move. And then black might have some issues because this ko could be much bigger, right? So let's say we get to endgame, right? This move starts the ko. Let's say they make a response. This move ends the ko for me. I don't actually fill the ko. I take these stones. So this is a huge go. This is a game-deciding go. Not what you want as either play. This is, like, probably good for white, just because the result is so good for white. Right. There's less investment from white doing this. However, it's not something you want to do, right? So, yeah, basically not a good result. You can't really save those stones well, you know? But there is Aji. There's
Right.
definitely Aji.
Right.
So, okay, yeah. So I end up doing this, and then right here, guess this makes sense. This is a Sente move. What move do you think I do? Ooh, actually, we skipped a few moves. I would like to point out. So I played the Hanging Connection. They try and kill the Aji,
Okay.
and I enclose. I think
Right.
this is bigger than them trying to kill the Aji. They play this move. I just simply connect back. This is not needed, but it is big, right? Locally, it's big, I should say.
Right.
I probably should do something like enclose the other side or something. Or maybe turning here is super big. Really emphasize the cut here, push through, and then this looks really good for me. Starting to build really big. Either way, I just take the big local move. They play this. What do you think I do here?
I think you would. My thought is you would just fill. My thought is either. Well, let me rephrase that. My thought is you either fill or you extend with C7 because you've played at D2 and are threatening to connect back. Then you have more options for how you stabilize. So the capture of the B5 stone becomes theoretically less important. Well, then in that same vein, the C7 stone also becomes less important. It's surrounded and there isn't a ton. So then I might just Tanuki.
I think I don't technically Tanuki, but Tanuking is basically the idea here. You want to try and play away with Sinte. You want to get Sinte out of this. And I think the issue here is that Black actually doesn't have to respond. Black can Tanuki here.
Yeah.
Because Black will be able to get out, and you just gave him 2 stones.
Right.
For an exchange of 2 points? No, you gave him an extra point, and he filled in. So because of that, Black didn't lose anything from filling in here, and you just gave them 2 gimmies.
Yeah.
So that's not actually Sente, so it's not good. I think technically I play under here. Yeah, this.
Okay, so you do.
You do have to save the group. However,
I was wondering if you wouldn't hold that until after a capture. Is that too risky to wait until it's captured and then?
Let's say you extend this. This is not fun to deal with. I think maybe this doesn't look alive. That's the issue. This doesn't look alive.
Yeah, that's fair.
But this is another thing is that I am actually getting points from doing this, right? I am getting a few points in the bottom. This wasn't my territory to begin with, so I'm fine with taking a few points if it means they want to like commit to fixing something, because they do have issues, right? We did mention how white, a big move for white would be to, let's say, they instead of taking, they enclose, right? Mm-hmm. This is a big move because ooh, no, I forgot that's Atari. You could be funny, right? Be like, haha, I have an invasion.
Right, and then, yeah, you could.
You could. I don't think this would work out well.
It looks dicey.
But I don't think, I think this area now is like super unimportant. Like, it's not important at all. It's practically settled, which is the thing you want. I want to focus elsewhere, right? However, Black does the Q thing and takes the stone. So guess what that means?
Tanuki? Okay.
I mean, I wanted to protect the points, but like Tanuki is like the correct option. But they almost definitely take the next. Yeah, they take the next stone, right? Not the best move, but I am playing my opponent, right? So good move knowing that, you know?
Fair.
And then I take this gun. And this is dicey because now with this star point,
right,
the ladder for me works.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's issues for Black.
Yeah, you can see that if Black tries to extend with from their L6 stone to K6, you can get an extra.
Because the issue here for black is that this stone is an Atari. If that stone wasn't an Atari, this position would be pretty much fine.
Right.
But the crosscut is too strong here because it comes with Atari. So black will probably have to extend here and then you ladder this, right?
Would you not want to? Does it not feel forcing to case 7 first and put those stones in Atari?
You want to save that for this, personally.
I see.
Though I guess you could theoretically play it first. But black can give up those stones, arguably. It depends on what black feels. That's the thing. If black wants to give up those stones, they can play this, right?
And then you've lost your ability to, yeah.
Well, you do have some, like, it's much easier to contain this in this sort of scenario. Black does lose points like this, but black is seeking to just destroy white's points.
Right.
So I take this, or wait, what happens in game? Do I take that in game? Yeah, I do take it in game. So I guess,
yeah.
It was
in this case, because black filled, you were able to get the result. But I think it was helpful to point out that if black had chosen to ignore, black might have suffered a little bit locally, but could have done
could have just try and wreak havoc, because that does actually weaken the laddering stone, and you don't want to weaken the laddering stone too much.
Right.
You don't want it to die and lose the ladder. Leaning on that would be very annoying, is the thing. And black plays out the ladder. Not a wise move.
No.
At this point, black realizes their mistake.
And then
tries to get a free stone. Or maybe they knew this, but they didn't want to play directly, right?
Right.
Because this is actually better result for black, because this breaks the ladder. So white would be incentivized to take. However, that's not how it played out. So black gets the stone, but I get a bunch of stones in exchange for free.
Right.
So I don't know. It doesn't seem that good for. And even then, if you do kite right here, I can do this.
Right, and you're
still laddered. I mean, that's a funny ladder. It doesn't actually this. Just that the stone is just. I don't actually have to react to it.
Right. Right.
However, they play it out right, and then they play this, and then what do you foresee here? Do you think something will happen here?
I think something. I think you just mentioned that for no other reason than just to trick me. No, I think that. I mean, it seems like what we're about to see is that black with the K8 stone is trying to keep even. Would obviously like to get ahead of white's K7 stone, but is with the K8 is only just staying even. I'm assuming.
It's pushing from behind. Yeah.
You're just gonna waddle your way in there and start to see how far you can go, is my guess.
Yep. Black really, if they wanted to not deal with anything, play this. Give up this one stone. It's not that important. This is Atari, so it's Sente, and then you can take some sort of big move. Right? This is probably the best result for black. Instead, they try to push with me. And this is already not going to go well.
They're very nice in giving you some direction to move, though.
Yeah, this is an uh-oh as well, because this starts a ladder. A loose ladder, too, which generally is not good. Generally, you don't want to be starting loose ladders unless it's a net. This is not a net because I'm guaranteed a connection back.
Right.
So, start the ladder. This is a nice attempt. However, it doesn't work.
I think, and this is something I remember seeing a little bit, and I feel like we've seen in this game, that I think one of the things that makes sense that Atreides would try to do is to, and as common is to protect all of their stones. It feels like, you gave an example a second ago about sacking the L8 stone.
One stone to save 30 points.
Right, and it feels like here Black is still trying to protect everything, but in doing so is leaving, in order to try to protect everything, has to leave so many vulnerabilities open that they're not really able to protect anything. And that might
Yeah.
work against opponents who aren't able to spot those, but the vulnerabilities absolutely exist, and if it's the sort of thing that a stronger player could take advantage of. So when you are putting yourself this thin and trying to keep it all, it just feels like you're inviting disaster.
Yeah. So I actually have an interesting variation for the better move. The better move is this. I would like to point out that this is actually not good, even though it's safer. It just allows me to to split it. And though you get this, you have too many cuts is the issue. Even though you can try this, I actually really like this for white because you get to harass a bunch of things, right? Well, black kind of has issues. Leaning on this is also very strong. However, that's not the variation that you should play as black. Really, I don't think. I think it's too weakening. Also, white can always take this at any time and just start a co.
Right.
Just make it big. This is very little loss for white, whereas black does lose a much more significant amount. And even if black wins it, let's say, what are you going to do about those stones?
Yeah. I mean,
black will have, this is Sente, this is Sente, and then, I'd probably be a bit more direct here. I don't normally play this kind of move, but this is probably correct here, I would say. Black has issues.
a lot of issues. A lot of issues in trying to cover up there. So instead, you'd be looking.
This is better shape, I think. White comes here, and then you block, and then white has this. Yeah. I think you can also technically... No, you have to do this for the variation I was showing you. So white does this, and there's two cuts here. Two pretty important cuts, actually. So you can Tanuki this right now if you want, and you'll get a good result. However... do I have a variation? Here's the variation. Yeah, this is why you... Is this why you... It's the variation. I'm looking, guys. I'm sorry.
Trying to find the one.
I'm trying to find the correct variation. It's kind of hard to see. Yeah, here it is. So, you do this. Black will block with how they played. I think it's better to do this, right? White pushes.
Yep.
And then look. Yeah. Do you see what's coming?
I see the poor center group that is the bottom center group that is quickly at risk of losing liberties.
Yeah, look at this. Ooh, this is a mean move. And the entire reason you could do this move is shortage of liberties. If black tries to black does want to separate this group, really.
Would black start with an F9? Because they can.
I don't know.
Because it doesn't.
Potentially, this might be an option. I think this is actually probably stronger. Yeah, and then white's gonna suffer. However, you do have this invasion still. So you can just be annoying, right? However, let's just say for the sake of argument, we ignore that, and
right. If you try to push through, yeah.
Black will have to take, and then you get this move in Sente, and then this move actually lives on the spot. So let's say they do this, push, this cut is Sente, and then you have an eye. So it's also important to note that if black can't push in here because you'll play this move, and you could sacrifice these two for even greater good,
Right.
You'll be able to make at least an eye on the bottom, which is good enough since you already have one eye. And the variation if they play here, similar situation that plays out. This cut is still Sente. And you don't really care about this because you can... Okay, take my stones. You know? Actually, in this case, you do want to save the stone.
Right.
But,
right, but it's you're willing to sacrifice a couple stones there to be able to really get yourself.
It was a great invasion. This is wonderful. I have wiggle room to just be annoying later over in this direction. Black will probably have to enclose right now. Otherwise, I approach. That's super big. Yeah, and look at how over concentrated Black is. Like, that's not pretty. Look how many points. So look how many points Black could have gotten versus the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 12 points plus what? 11 captures, so like 20 points. With how many stones? I think they placed more stones there than they did.
Yeah, than points.
Yeah, they're playing super locally, which is kind of the issue. Oh, spoilers. Well, I mean, we are already. Yeah, they play this move.
Right,
they really wanted to save the stone.
They're really trying to protect it all. And I guess so. Maybe the other thing I was going or one thing I wanted to mention about when you're in situations like this, maybe one of the big questions is what if you protect these stones, or you're trying to protect these stones. How do you intend to use them? If instead you had played at h8, at h10 on the other side, I think I could more immediately say, I'm trying to protect these stones because I'm going to use them to build the left side. If I protect the stones on the right, how...
What benefit do you get from saving them?
Yeah, they're still completely cut off.
It's 4 points, actually, technically. But it's 4 points versus... Oh, no. Look what happens. Uh-oh. This is a doubly loose ladder. I have 4 liberties. It's basically they're trying to net me.
They're trying to so.
And you don't really play this close if you're trying to net. You need space if you're going to net. So.
Right. The beauty of the ladder is that you walk the tightrope by creating a bunch of vulnerabilities for yourself because you're putting the other person in Atari forcing moves. The vulnerabilities you create in the moment aren't important. But if you try to do the same thing without being able to put that person in Atari, you're essentially creating a number of vulnerabilities for yourself that then have to be dealt with.
So another the reason it works, like you mentioned, is that it's a capturing race actually between any of White's weak stones versus Black's group. Or I guess in this case it's the opposite, but either way. And the person, so let's say the person laddering has Sente. It's a 2-2 liberty race, always, in a ladder. Otherwise, it's a loose ladder / a net. And because of that, whoever has Sente will win the exchange. Almost guaranteed. Technically, some ladder you can kind of let some ladders go, and sometimes you get exchanged, yada yada. There might be exceptions where you can let the opponent play further and they're just still dead because you fixed your weakness, right? Yada yada. But for the most part, in a open board with just the ladder formation, whoever plays first is going to win that. Because both players are so weak. There's a shortage of liberties on the laddering group versus the surrounding group has just a bunch of cuts. But the thing to note here is that I'm not at Atari.
Right.
So this is just basically a super reduction. And then, Black is going to have issues. So you play the side that you don't actually want. This would be very big if I do get this. They extend here. That makes sense. and then I just continue. I'm also, in doing this, I'm threatening to ladder this group.
Yep.
And then they do this. Oh, wait, no, back.
We back on the. Oh no.
This is. They want to do this, and then I'm threatening to ladder them again. So then I play this. This is not actually Sente, but basically Sente.
I see. I like that Atreides, I think, notices, or I don't know for certain, but it seemed like they were initially trying to go for a ladder, realized that wouldn't work, and are now trying to correct and contain. I think one of the and so I like the, excuse me, I like the idea that for some of the stuff they're going for. I think one of the biggest problems in my mind is that this is all, it's damage control, but it's not one at the moment. Black isn't doing anything to really get ahead. Black is just trying to stop from losing more, is sort of the feeling I have. And the second thing is that even in trying to stop losing additional territory and certainly stones, there's the H8 play. You can always, white can always connect back at M7. That's never under threat. You've still got a lot of pushing power that is not being contained yet. So even as black is trying to prevent additional stones and keep you kind of honed in, if you're constrained, you're not stopped. You can continue to tear through, and it just seems really dicey.
Yeah, I complete agree. Why do you think I do this invasion right now?
Why do you do this invasion right now? It's an interesting choice to do. So it makes sense that you might be looking somewhere else because we just talked about you're not actually in a ladder, so you're not actually under threat.
So there's a very important reason.
Yeah, I'm not sure I see it. So I'd be if you'd be interested to know.
Here's a hint. It's Mii.
Interesting.
So because of that, you have to realize that eventually white is going to hit this stone, right?
Yeah.
That's eventually going to happen. So it's this area of just pure reduction, right? However, if that finishes out, I will no longer be able to airplane.
Not what is it? Lawnmower outside.
Oh God, I feel so sorry for you. I know the feeling. Aw. Turn on crisp. Like actually, turn on crisp.
Crisp, I feel like messes with the audio too much. I guess I could do it. I guess that's fair too. I can turn on crisp at least for Discord.
Yeah.
At least be something.
Though maybe it records for OBS.
I think it would record. Do you want to just?
I'll just restart. From right here.
Yeah.
So tell me when you're ready.
3, 2, 1.
These points are Mii, right? So because of that, you have to realize the end result of this ladder is that white will end up running into the Delta Stone.
Yeah.
Where it's the reduction ends, right?
Yeah, so you're thinking ahead.
Yeah. I don't want black to get any strength around the invasion point because then the 3-3 invasion just doesn't work anymore, right?
Right.
So because of that, if I do the 3-3 invasion, it works out for me. And then black fixes one. So let's just say when black plays the Sente variation, right? Let's say they do this, right? Well, then I'm still getting reduction, right? And then...
That is clever.
I don't think this is a good exchange, but this is actually this is probably better for black, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see that... Look at all the weak groups on the inside.
Right.
That's a lot of points.
Right.
Like, that's perfectly worth it in my opinion.
And
Not including that I don't even need to play 12. In fact, I could probably play this first. Take this. Black would fix. If the black doesn't fix this, this is like super painful. I do not advise black to do this, especially with this cut. You can't really save the group, I don't think. Maybe if you do this. I don't see how though, because this is not the short ladder doesn't work.
No,
yeah.
I do. The other thing is I see I like how, because I didn't see it until you pointed out the Miai, the way in which you are already threatening to go in two different directions. You have that flexibility that you can go in, and with the 3 point in either direction that black ends up pushing you, or you end up deciding to go depending on how it plays out. You've got the 3-3. That's tricky. That's really tricky.
Yeah, the thing is that I'm building points here, where, in the other side I'm reducing.
Yep.
Building points is worth double than reducing, like inherently. If you can have an invasion that gains you 10 points, that's worth 20 points of reduction, and that's how you should view it, because reduction doesn't give you points; it just lowers the amount of points your opponent has, whereas invasions swing points, which is the important bit.
Right.
Though generally invasions also act closer to reductions, since you often don't get that many points. However, in this case, this is a huge amount of points you get from an invasion. You get at least 6 if you just let it go to the bare minimum. So yeah, they end up playing this out, and this is not good. Black keeps playing, and then the ladder ends. Except,
fun times begin. Double Atari.
Okay. Oh.
And now you're starting to try to exploit everything to make use of the fact that white has left a lot of cutting groups, or a lot of cutting points, and a lot of weak groups that you can start to make
exploit.
use of.
Yeah. And this is a strange move.
Huh.
I don't know the point. It ironically doesn't make bad shape. It's just not doing anything. Like, I would much rather have this move, or like, this move or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're trying to protect, it doesn't.
This doesn't fix anything.
Yeah.
Right.
It's still.
You're just.
It still allows you to push in.
Yeah.
On both on the left and on down. Yeah.
I take this and then I do this. Do you see where this is going?
We're gonna go to another double Atari. Oh, okay. Not D13. Oh, you going for everything.
Oh no.
That's not so good. That whole
Not
group is dead.
Yeah, this variation is dead. And then they resign in this position. However, before we talk about that, I would like to say that I did find some interesting variations where they do fix.
Okay.
And look at this madness.
Right.
Ooh.
Oh man.
So I think.
Where does black even play at that point?
The thing is, if black takes these 2 stones, right?
Right.
I get these 3 stones. And this. So I actually come out with even more. So it's a tough call. The reason you connect here is that you're saying, hey, I'm going to win the capturing race on these 2 stones before you can capture this big group.
Right.
But why it gets so many liberties? In this variation, black tries to extend. You have this empty triangle of power. And you actually have more liberties than black here, so you win the capturing race unconditionally. So black dies here.
Yeah.
And if black tries to do this, this is actually Gote. Because I don't actually need to fix here. I don't have... You do, and I don't. So let's say you fix like this, then this. Ooh, look at this.
Oof. Yep, still ahead by a minimum of 2 liberties.
Yeah.
Or, sorry, 1 liberty. Oof.
No, it's 2 liberties. Okay,
Yeah,
this is 2 liberties.
Yeah. That's 2 liberties.
Yeah. And then black can't actually connect the co either because if they do that,
then you just play on the outside, right?
And then who cares? Or even this is probably better because black crawls. You're just like, okay, have fun.
Right.
And they can't.
They'd just be digging their own grave.
So that's no good. So I think I missed a variation. Okay. So there's a variation here. Wait, you can play this. Oh no, this gets hairy. Look. It's co.
Oh, it's co.
It's co. But even if I lose this co, I gain those Delta Stones unconditionally. Those Delta Stones are dead. And there's a cutting point that I can exploit as black. So you have to realize that black is losing so much here, even if I don't win the co. And I have sufficient co threats, because what if I do this? If you kill this, oops. Resign the game.
Yeah, that's too big to let go. Yeah, so you've got to respond, and there just aren't nearly as many critical vulnerabilities right now. So, black is definitely the one who has less co threats they can leverage, but is also in the worst position, in that co is vitally important to them. Oof.
Yeah. I didn't check, however, if black did the hanging connection. I did miss this. However, I assume something like this works, right? This looks good for white. So maybe you can't play the wedge. In that case, it's just dead, right?
Yeah.
That's sad. Yeah, you just win the capturing race. So if you win the capturing race like this, it's actually better to do something like this. Or even potentially just be sucker.
Really go for it.
Yeah, really go for it. Be really mean. Because if they play here, right, as we mentioned, in this variation you actually lose because you have to take the other side first. So extend out once and then do this. Yeah. And this one's. Yikes.
Yikes, indeed.
Either way, this is actually farther than the game goes. So I think we should kind of end the recap here with some final thoughts. You first.
Yeah. Since you played it, I'll give first thoughts, and then as the other player, I think it makes sense to give you the last word. I think a big thing is that I think there was a couple times in which, critically, Atreides wasn't quite sure what... I think Atreides wanted to hold on to everything and clearly had an idea coming in, or at the start of the game, for building a big framework, for playing big, and then once those invasions started happening and that came under fire, in trying to decide what to prioritize, had trouble keeping or sticking to making that plan work. And I think because they sort of shifted, it seemed like, to trying to protect everything, it meant that they weren't gaining points, but they also weren't building any framework, and they were just putting stones under distress. And I think if they had been able to sacrifice, either swap and decide that they were just gonna get into it with you, and they weren't gonna try and go for a big framework, but they were gonna try to fight back and capture, or they were going to try to preserve that framework even at the cost of a couple stones. If there was some more clear, definitive path path they were taking, once you started to get aggressive, I think maybe it would have gone better. But I think in trying to protect everything and contain everything, they weren't able to hold on to it. And you, conversely, clearly needed to play aggressive. I mean, you threw yourself out there and said, I am going to start with a 3-stone handicap, which meant you always needed to be playing loose. And I think you did a good job of leveraging the aggressiveness and making use of when you would spot those cutting points, so you'd spot those weaknesses, being good at not only poking them, but I think knowing that, or at least having a feel for how your opponent was going to respond, and knowing, for example, that you could just continue to really dig into the center and into the top left, that you could continue to poke, and it would be difficult for them to manage those. So I think spotting that or knowing that clearly came through in the way the game played out and allowed you to just get a lot of things that might have been difficult to get otherwise, and allow you to make up that starting difference.
Yeah. So my final words are probably going to start with, I am sorry, I am mean. I wanted to have kind of like a fun game. I don't want to just crush my opponent, because it's no fun whenever you don't have some sort of challenge. It's like they just feel bad because they get crushed, right? And then I just don't have any enjoyment playing. So at least this way, I got some fun.
To add on to that real quick, just I think one thing that maybe is obvious to everyone playing, but if there's someone watching who isn't part of the tournament, the tournament is all even games. So we have players of very different experience levels, very different Q ranks, but everybody has to play start on an even game. There's nothing to compensate for the difference in experience built into the brackets. So yeah, if there is this big difference, it can be. I mean, we've seen very one-sided games because of that.
Yeah, I at least with this, I don't feel like it. At least if you get in a situation where somebody does this to you in a tournament, you shouldn't feel bad, especially if you don't have that much experience playing, because you're not gonna win this type of game. You're more likely to just make a blunder that just loses the game outright, compared to, slowly winning. Like, you're much more likely to make a game losing mistake as a new person, and you shouldn't really feel bad about losing a game. It's because of that. Like, that's really what happened here. It's not that Black couldn't win this game. It's that they made a few bad exchanges, and then they did something that ended the game. There's just simply not enough points on the board anymore. And the best you can do is just say, okay, well, I lost this, but I learned something. I learned to maybe, I maybe learned a new Joseki, right, in the bottom, or maybe I learned to not play as close when trying to net stones, because they lead to issues that ladders leave. Things like that, right? It's better to come out of a game like this saying, okay, they were just trying to have fun, right?
Yeah, I think a benefit of when you do play a stronger player is, as frustrating as an experience as it can be, because it can be, especially in tournament setting, it can be difficult to separate yourself. Though I think that mindset of, I'm going in to play my best and have fun and learn, can definitely be a good one. I think the other thing too is, on the flip side, like you're saying, these sorts of experiences can be good, because if you can play your best, you started at a disadvantage, but what you can see is you can see how moves that would normally work, or strategies you would normally employ that would be just fine, get broken through, and you can see the weaknesses that in the approach or the strategy that you couldn't see before because they had worked in the past. And that's true of all games. So I think conversely, and this and in other games where we've seen a big disparity, I hope that it's useful for the players who ended up losing, to see how both the strategies that they were trying could get broken down and can then use that to rethink them. And also, if they encounter them, how a good example is the way in which you came into the center and they tried Atreides tried to contain, but you were able to leverage that to your advantage. They can look for, hopefully, Atreides can look for that in the future too. And if they spot somebody doing what they were doing, they now have seen how they can actually begin to turn that around and really use it to their advantage.
Yeah. And I think that about wraps it up for this review.
Excellent. Let me give the usual plug real quick. That if you're a fan of chess, Wargroove, turn-based games in general, definitely check out the Groove of War channel, who hosts the tournament. They've got both Wargroove, but also in particular the chess replays from the tournament. We are rolling into our round of 8, so we're getting into the final portion of the
Swiss
games.
Rounds. Yeah.
We'll have concluded by the time we record this.
I don't think.
Well, the round of 8 wouldn't have concluded. I mean, the Swiss rounds will have.
At least they've definitely started. I think the first wave ends on Monday.
Okay, so a little more.
We'll have way more games coming way more frequently, but the Go section's actually small enough that every player is in.
Yeah.
So
we get to see more of everybody.
I'm gonna feel bad replaying some of these people.
I'm really curious to see how everybody. We don't know how much everyone has been able to practice outside of the games, but we've definitely seen some growth from some players between round 1 and round 5. There's obviously still the disparity. Some of this may just be a little bit too much to really cover all of that ground, but I am curious to see if anybody can pull out some upsets, or at least really give some players like yourself a run for their money.
I wanna see an upset against Faded. I really don't care who does it, but
it's whoever it is.
I think everybody here wants an upset against Faded. So
we got our eyes on Faded.
We're coming for you. I don't think it's likely that we'll do it, but we can have hope.
We can have hope.
Hope is a thing.
We can have hope.
I think me or Zero is probably pretty likely to potentially get an upset, but it's tough.
You never know.
Not an easy game to play, especially when, like, I think, like, I started playing this game because of the tournament, and I think that's like saying a lot about how far I've come. So even if I don't win, I think if I just put up money against Faded, that's probably good enough for me.
Yeah. No, I think that, and I think it'll be exciting to see how far you go. Absolutely, if you can put up good money against Faded is definitely in first place at the moment, and they are the player to beat.
It'd be real betrayal if Arnfasta here supported Faded instead of me.
I mean, I'm impartial officially.
Officially, quote unquote.
I'll pass Faded the pro tips.
Wow, how cruel. Anyway, I think that's all for today, folks. Have a nice day. That's the ending. You guys aren't nerds. Just have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Love it.